This is ECDP Television. You are on the edge with Seema Anand. Welcome to ECDP Television. You are watching The Edge with Seema Anand. The Edge is sponsored by the Essex Cultural Diversity Project. And in this program, we try and look at all the new and innovative things that are happening in the arts and all the amazing artists who are making it happen. And my guest today, our incredible artist, is Lora Aziz. Now, Lora calls herself a wildcraft artist. And I'm not going to tell you what that means. I'm going to show you. So we went out into the meadows and we went foraging, and Lora showed me this incredible flower, for instance, which you can put into lettuce. And she showed me this one, which is a nettle of some kind. It's a nettle flower which you can saute to make into vegetable. We saw oak galls, which she uses to make ink with. We saw rose hips. We collected rose hips, which Lora makes into hand cream. We saw this most amazing plant called the slowberry, which can be used, I believe, for both weapons as well as to make gin. How cool is that plant? And finally, we ended up with an impromptu tea party where she collected leaves from nettles and brambles. She made into green tea, and even passers-by who were just hiking along in the woods and on the hills came and joined us for this. And I think that this is going to be one of the most exciting conversations this month. So, Lora, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me. I really just have to say that, Seema, the fact that you've already remembered each of those plants and are able to recite them back in such a confident way after literally, how long were we out for? 2 hours, just goes to show. As soon as you start seeing what is around us in our natural environment, just what it means and how many doors it can unlock. So that was really cool introduction. Thank you.
No, it's so fabulous. And, you know, I was just so delighted that you actually came down and you showed me all of these plants, because I have a couple of them that I brought along with me. And do you want to, because I think it's nice to actually tell people about some of these. So there is this fabulous yellow flower, for instance. Do you want to just tell us about it? You told me that this is great for salads.
It's the lesser celandine flower, and it's one of the earliest of spring flowers. It's super cheery as well, so it's one of the ones that you'll first sort of be walking through the woodlands and spot, and you'll often find them in sort of areas near streams. I've seen them a lot. And they've got little heart-shaped leaves, so they're beautiful little first signs of spring that are almost like little stars, and they lighten up our hedges, and even just, you know, in that time when winter isn't quite finished yet, and we can see those, you know, widely distributed across the country.
Yeah, I think I'd like to show everybody the leaves as well. So that's actually the heart-shaped leaf that goes with this particular yellow flower, just so that when you see them together, you'll know what we're talking about, because there's lots of yellow flowers, aren't there, Lora? And we don't want people picking the wrong one.
Well, yeah, and at this time, the only other thing I can sort of think that you could confuse that with at this time would be a dandelion. But again, dandelions are great, you know, to drink or to eat, so I wouldn't worry about that.
And this is the other one that Lora showed me, which is a dead red nettle.
Yeah, exactly. And the dead red nettle is from the nettle family, and nettles, we often know them as stingy nettles and stingy nettles only. But the red dead nettle is the feminine part of the nettle family, because it doesn't sting, and therefore the masculine quality, I think, has been is taken away. And you also get with the feminine version of the plant, you have the little flowers. So you've got a white dead nettle and you've got a red dead nettle, but the red dead nettle is particularly interesting because of their really deep flavour, and also the sort of labia-like lips that are on the top of the flower.
Yeah, I'm just kind of showing this as close as possible to the camera so that people can pick it up. Because it really is one of the most beautiful little flowers. And I have to say that I followed a recipe from the internet where I sauteed this, as you suggested, with some mint and garlic, and it was incredible.
Did you really enjoy it?
Yeah, it was really good. I used the garlic, so you gave me some wild garlic salt, and that's what I used with it. So it was amazing.
Oh, that's really, with a little bit of, an oil of your choice or a butter of your choice, and then kind of let them sit in there. And I've noticed how tall they're getting now. So kind of, we're just out of the season. I think it's also interesting to know when we did our walk, to let people know that it was in, when did we walk? I think it was the very end of March, wasn't it? So that today's the 16th of April, so that is a while away in nature, so knowing that shortly the cycle of that will sort of be weaning down as they get taller and tougher. They're not maybe as tasty as the fresher sort of young stems, but yeah.
That's incredible. So tell me something. I mean, we also came across that lovely plant, I don't know what it's called, the one that sticks to you, which you said tastes like cucumber, and you put it into water and it makes cucumber water.
Yeah. And did you drink the
I didn't get a chance to gather that one, but sorry, tell me again, what is it called?
Oh, cleaver. So
cleaver.
I don't have a picture, but I have a sketch. But yeah, the cleavers are sort of the long, I mean, if you grew up around them, it was the plant that people would stick onto your back as a kid, or you're walking along and that sticky plant that you could put on someone's back and then no one would notice for hours, and everyone, haha, you stuck the sticky plant on you. And lo and behold, that plant is a really good cleanser for our body, and it does things to help kind of push toxins through and toxins from the lymphatic system. So it is a really good flusher of the body, and hydrating too if you're drinking it with water and you're sort of allowing your body to cleanse itself. It's a great cleanser.
You know what? It's just amazing that you can walk out into the meadows and you can find all of these things just kind of growing there. But of course, we have to be really careful at the same time and say that you need to be with somebody who knows about these, because sometimes those plants can be poisonous and you don't want to go down that path.
Yeah.
But were you going to show us a sketch?
Well, yeah, no, I did a little study actually, because that's how I do it. I don't know if you can see it in this one, but kind of going with different plants and different flowers is literally just from the sketchbook. And this was one that I was studying as I was studying the element of water. And part of my research and the herbalism course that I'm doing, it encourages us to work with the seasons and to also work with the elements. And by understanding a plant, by understanding the element, you can also understand different herbs that are associated with each element. So that's super interesting. And the cleaver is one of water. And you can often tell, or they say that, a water herb is one whose stem is the stem that we use, or that they grow by the water, or whose texture is juicy, or because they contain a polysaccharide sugar chains which form a soothing gloop. So if you were to put aloe vera on your skin, you've got that same gloop that nourishes and hydrates the skin. And also apparently orange and blue flowers, interestingly, are water types, because they promote the passage of liquids within our body. So just understanding, as soon as you go into that realm, it's fascinating. And the lymphatic system. So why cleavers are good for the lymphatic system is because they promote the fluid movement within the body, and allowing fluid to move in between the cells, drawing, so it's allowing that intercell movement and to drain away from the tissue, and that can help to stop any fluid retention. So, I mean, this is one way you can look at these things. in itself, it is just endless. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems so fascinating. So, I know that because I want to actually talk about the oak gall, because I was fascinated with how
Yeah.
the oak gall happens. But before we get there, tell me, I know that in your belief system, you have this thing called the Shaitani plant and the Rabbani plants. So, do you want to explain to the audiences what that means?
So I guess this is another categorization of plants, really, and it was something that I was chatting about with my dad as we were in lockdown, and we'd go on our daily walks or whatever, and and we'd be walking along, and I'd be pointing out to him, oh, this is the mallow, and we could turn it into molokhia, and he was sort of saying, oh, no, this is not this is not mallow, this is shaitani mallow, as in kind of, this isn't the best of that, it is the shaitani here meaning literally devil, but it doesn't mean it's a devil plant, it just means it is in that which is categorized as not as good as Rabbani, and Rabbani coming from Rabbina is also is kind of is God. So they come from that realm, which is very different from the realm of the devil. So, me bringing home devil herb is very different from bringing, a Rabbani. But, we'd walk past a rose and I'd say, okay, is this Rabbani or is this Shaitani? And I'd sort of want to really understand the classification here and the classification system. Obviously, my dad is not a botanist. He's not. It's just walking with with family, and just walking and learning, and that's how we learn, isn't it? From our parents and our teachers, and if he says the rose is Rabbani, I sort of said yes, Rabbani. That I think that is a Rabbani actually, but I would also say that the mallow was Rabbani because I turned it into a delicious soup and it nourished me, and that is the essence of my connection and my belief system. So that is that's how I made that association. I think as soon as we're able to see and facilitate a connection with a being, a plant, an animal, a human, then we are entering that realm of Rabbani. That is the spirit for me. So I so it was interesting time to really sort of go deeper into categorizations of herbs, of the natural world, of my local environment, and applying ancient systems such as the elements, which predecess all of our thoughts, and also then applying cultural lenses on top of it. And I also have been using another book, which I don't have near me at the moment, but I can reference it in the bottom if anybody's interested to read any more, around the encyclopedia of magical herbs, and it's something that I was recommended to start reading, and it gives you all the ancient folklores around particular plants. So I would then cross-reference it with the herbalist course, understand how I felt with a particular plant, and then I'd also read maybe some old sort of folkloric ritual that was done. Yeah, so today I was walking underneath the cherry blossoms, which have just started to open. So there's a range of cherry blossoms. You've got the pink ones and you've got the sour cherry. And a sour cherry is a sour cherry by name. It is. I mean, you look at it on the branch and you think, oh, cherries, and you climb up there and you eat it, and it's like, brace yourself for an experience of the senses because it is sharp. But I was walking underneath the same tree that I acquainted last year, and went back to see it in bloom today, and I remembered that. And this was also because I passed by a house to collect some desserts. Anyway, long story, but a seed that Marley had, he'd eaten a cherry and then given the seed to his friend, and he showed me the pot today, and it was growing. It had a little sprout coming out of the top of it. But it used to be said that you'd collect cherry seeds for the inside of the cherry heart, and then drill a hole, one hole in each cherry for each new moon that there were. And then at the end of the cycles, once you finished drilling through the 12 cherries, you would put a rope through the cherries and then tie it around your leg if you're a single woman, and then lo and behold, it's just funny, you would meet the love of your life, right? And then you were to be married. And I was just kind of like walking underneath the cherry tree, just like, wow, how you hold so much story, you know. And it was kind of really, really interesting, yeah, to read the old stories with the new stories and then make new stories, you know.
I think that sounds utterly delightful. So tell our audiences about the oak gall, because I was absolutely fascinated by the oak gall.
Yes. So I'm going to show them in this camera because so here is the oak galls, and I sat around the dinner table the other day and I had all my family around for the first time in a long time, and I said, does anybody know what this is? And, you know, I've got my nephews as 12, 13, so a nut? I don't know. Malteser? No, I don't know. So, and everyone was trying to guess what it was, and I said it was an acorn where a wasp had landed on top and laid the eggs there, and then the oak gall hardens and then creates this, which is full of tannins. And it's very, very hard, you have to, yeah, so I can open one up. And this is a very, very old way that people would make ink. And it's not a very hard process, but when I was also around that very same table, my brother-in-law said, why are you doing this when you could literally just buy a pen for 12p at the shop? So it's not about that. It's about the process of really feeling you know, it's that. I think that for me is what it means to be an artist, is to stop asking why I'm doing it because it's the least efficient way of doing something. It's that connection to the process, and also something that just pleases you, and you actually don't know why. I don't even know why I do it, but I do know because it brings me a pleasure. But it's mad.
I think that it's actually an incredible thing to do, because, you know, we are saying constantly how we're kind of flooding the world with disposable plastic and it's not good.
Yeah.
And here you are saying it doesn't take that much effort. Well, it's an exciting process to go out and find the oak gall and go through the process of making the ink. But just think of the connection that you make with the earth and the artistry behind just the creation of the ink. I think it's the most beautiful thing that you could be doing.
So here is a video coming up of me making this oak gall ink. From Arabica, you need the same amount of oak galls. So I'll just pop those in. But not all, I'll leave a little bit. So this I had 12 parts wine, so I'll say that's 1 part. This is 1 part, and I'm going to add 12. And this one is for me, as it brews. It's important, apparently, to choose a wine that you really enjoy. And this one here is from a dear friend, Tony Beck, who makes wine, and we picked these elderberries together.
Okay, and we will make more food and more exciting meals for Mali just to give him, just to pay him back for all his work that he's going to do on this video.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and I think one other thing that you showed me, which I was just totally blown away by, because I mean, you showed me so many things in that forest, but you showed me this thing, the slow berry, which you said,
yes.
which I was so excited about, because here is a plant you can use for friends and enemies at the same time.
Yes, so this is another one of those stories. I mean, that I'm building like an encyclopedia in my brain of like stories I've heard and things. So, back in the days when people would make arrows, the blackthorn was used as the end of that arrow, because it is really kind of toxic to the skin, and it can. So if you were struck by it, or if, say for example, now you get a piece of wood and you cut yourself and it stays in your skin and you get a splinter, your body can heal around that quite quickly. It knows there is a foreign object in it, but remove it, you'll be okay. The blackthorn is one of those ones where your body's like very slow, and it's also kind of very agonizing in any entry point as to where it enters. So not only will you can really hurt someone by using the blackthorn, but
so it was quite a dangerous weapon to use.
Yeah, it's just an annoying weapon. I think it was kind of clever, but at the same time, it's not very nice. I mean, you could just many ways you could do it rather than this slow, agonizing pain that people feel. It's like and it's annoying. It's like you've got something scratching at you. It's not a friendly sort of big ouch. It's a small, slow building ouch. So,
and yet the berries themselves you can actually sort of cook to make gin.
Yeah, so it's quite a common thing actually. I think two of the things that are most commonly picked in the UK, with no data behind me, is blackberries and slowberries. They seem to be like the most common things that people use. And yeah, the slowberries have been widely used in gin, and a big ingredient of gin in the UK. So people pop the berries into the bottom of a jar, fill the rest with gin, and then you've got this beautifully infused gin.
So Lora, I know that you're going to be doing some stuff with ECDP very soon. You're going to be part of their Estuary Festival, and I know you're doing something truly exciting with them, because it's going to be like over a few days and walking for several hundred miles, I think you said. Tell us more about that.
Not several hundred miles, but we're going nearly 100 miles, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, almost 100. Yeah, so the project is split up into several different aspects, and it's kind of mushroomed from the original idea. But I really wanted to get a walk in, and basically going to be walking the old rebel routes from Lesness Abbey in London all the way to Southend. Will be culminating the project in Wat Tyler Country Park. So basically I've been commissioned by the Estuary Festival to work alongside the academics of the people of 1381 project, which are basically reviving old manorial records from people of the Peasants' Revolt in 1381, who were all campaigning against the land ownership changes, the changing from feudalism over to kind of newly into capitalism. So we saw all of these changes happening in 1381 after the Black Death, which meant which kind of struck the whole of Europe with death and plagued everybody with this major virus, and everyone was and things started to change. So it's very, very kind of in tune with the timings of today around kind of the revolutionary movements around climate change and our relationship to the environment, and also the coronavirus, where we've witnessed globally the pandemic and how that has changed the way in which we deal with one another, and that we're still going to be having to learn and unravel those things. So it's actually a really, really interesting project and very contemporary, and being revived at the moment. So the academics of the People of 1381 project, they are reviving all these manorial records, which are trying to tell the stories of the everyday people who were involved in that uprising. We're very familiar with the likes of John Ball, the revolutionary bishop who changed the way in which the relationship people had with the church. And then you've got Wat Tyler, who was a tiler, an everyday man who was, tiling roofs and things, and led the uprising. So there are other people